The reason this election is so disappointing and scary has nothing to do with the candidates and has everything to do with the corruption that has undermined the election process. Now, our freedoms have been subverted, and we now exist under a dictatorship of the psychopaths who run these giant tech and big businesses like Amazon, Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, and Alphabet. Now, unfortunately, it will only be a matter of time before I'm silenced for even speaking on it. I want to say that what has kept me going is the tremendous amount of support I've received from you all and the members of my Patreons. You know, I've made some really great friends, and, you know, like Shay Rose, who sent me a care package full of goodies back when I had my Brazilian butt lift. And I used her handmade rose oil to massage my stomach every night, and it really helped, and it's made a difference, so thank you. And Annie, who sends me thoughtful gifts like beautiful postcards from her antique shop. And it's really interesting to read the correspondence from like 100 years ago and see how people thought back then and how they lived. And I can read cursive, but many children, my daughter's age, 13 and younger, they can't. And they stopped teaching it around when she started school. So I had to teach her how to read and write it, or she wouldn't be able to read these old historical documents like the Constitution. And just all the support and email I receive from you guys, or comments you leave, are very encouraging. And a lot of you are learning to take back your power. And so when I get these emails and you're telling me that you're gaining the courage to find your way out of a bad situation, and or take a risk and a chance on creating the life that you deserve, you just can't put a price on that. So I want you to know that I'm not quitting my channel. I am waiting to see what I need to do, as I'm not sure which platforms will survive the upcoming witch trial. Now, that being said, I need to express my affection for you all. I really like you guys, and I genuinely enjoy your comments and when you express your thoughts. Except for the sugars. You guys are truly pathetic, and personally, I don't care about what you have to say, and it doesn't faze me. The issue that I do take with you showing up is your comments disturb some of my more sensitive viewers, and that I will not have. But lately, I have noticed an uptick in the sugar attacks, and some of you have mentioned it as well. These very strange and out of place, carefully designed attacks, which are meant to seek out my weaknesses so they can take me down. And these comments, they're not the normal feeble-minded blatherings of a sugar. I get the feeling they're paid sugars with a mission to undermine my confidence and make me shut up. However, they really didn't need to do anything. Like, seriously, the shadow ban has more than taken care of that. So these weird attacks also tells me that someone is tracking my channel and doesn't like what I have to say about her. I mean Meghan. The sugars, I don't care. They actually make California and I laugh. And you know how we get going. And I need those laughs, as in this climate of censorship, the shadow ban has really affected me emotionally. At first, I tried not to let it bother me, and I was like, whatever, and, I just carried on. But after a while, it got in my head. The reality is that because of my shadow ban, my channel, it will never progress past 9,000 subs. Now my subscriber count will rise to maybe 9,200 or 93 at best. And immediately, the system will start dumping my subs like 60 to 80 at a time. However, I do get traffic daily and new subscribers. So that means that there is an active current and I am not a dead channel. And it's actually a testament to how successful I might be, since I am continually pulling in an audience and subscribers, despite the shadow ban blocking and suppressing my videos. Now, a shadow ban is an evil and insidious thing that incorporates gaslighting and stonewalling. It is very cruel and has completely made me doubt myself by validating my worst fears. I need to be successful in life and to appear successful in life. And one doesn't exist without the other for me. It's not enough to front like I'm successful. I actually need to be successful. And now I'm being ostracized and discriminated against. And it really sucks when you see other channels like yours that just started and they rack up in a matter of months more subscribers than you have or you'll ever have. And I have other channels that are totally plagiarizing my content and stealing my ideas, you know, or they're being influenced by me and they don't want to give me credit. And it sucks because some are well-known YouTubers and they could really help me, but instead they're using me to farm ideas from and to build their channel or to step up their content and their game. You know, I've had to go to YouTube a few times over this, and each time they sided with me. And it just sucks because these channels are taking advantage of my being shadow banned and praying that I stay stuck. And it's hard. It's hard on my ego. I was punished for mentioning Black Lives Matter. And I mentioned it in regards to Jessica Maroney and Sasha Exeter. It just sucks because I work hard and I am successful, and that should be reflected in my sub count, and I should be reported for it monetarily, and I am not. So let me tell you how it works and how I and other YouTubers make money and how in this situation, you know, I'm being cheated. So by suppressing my reach, I'm not reaching new viewers through YouTube. It's through you guys that I'm reaching new viewers. And they're also dumping subscribers. They're blocking my videos. I don't come up in the search. You know, you basically have to look for me or know I'm there. You know, basically those who've already subscribed. And so what's happening is they don't know when the new videos come out. And so this lowers the amount of people who can watch my videos, therefore the amount of money I can make. And I make money through AdSense. They play commercials on my videos for which they give me a very small portion of this money. So if I genuinely had 9,000 subscribers, I wouldn't care and I would continue to work hard and build my audience. But the fact is, my channel will never grow despite my best efforts. It's useless. I've had my subscribers like Betsy and Heather tell me that they saw my subscriber count at 40. Well, Betsy said she saw it at 45,000 before it just started dropping. And I was losing like hundreds of subscribers at a time, and I didn't understand because it just wasn't reflected in what I was seeing. So it was just crazy. And Heather was just telling me the other day that she was watching a video that just came out. I don't remember it exactly, but let's just say that 45,000 people watched that video. Okay, and the next day she checked and it was at 2,000 people watched the video. And that is how I'm getting fucked, because they're screwing me out of my subscribers, and then they're literally stealing my watch time and my hours. So they're only crediting me for the 2,000 views and not 43,000 views. You know, that's like your boss erasing 75% of your pay and giving you only 25%. So if you made $100, they would give you $25. And yet you're still working all those hours, but you're not being compensated. And anyone who makes videos knows that it's a lot of hard work. A month from YouTube, I barely make $188. And I have to put out a lot of content for that. So that's like 5 videos, okay? Now, if I hustle and I make really cheap videos, I can make 500, but that's working 24/7. I can't make those. I'm just not cheap. And I made a couple, and you guys have even commented. You're like, I can just hear it in your voice. You're not into it, you know? And so I'm just like, yeah. And so I don't want to make a cheap video because it would defeat the purpose of my brand, which is to make quality videos that entertain and inform you about the psychopath, to help you understand the reality of psychopathy, as well as the nature of the beast. this is what the gods of YouTube are banking on, to make you give up and go away, because we are being completely silenced. If the President of the United States can be silenced, then so can we.
So I'm just talking about what's going on in the government. With the current state of things, I don't think that there's one, sinister leader in charge as far as the way that the government and big tech and everything else is flowing right now. What I think that there's a bunch of different factions and different individuals with their own agendas. And I think that they're kind of, they've got these loose alliances that kind of bond them together and make them look like they're going in the same direction. But, everybody's after something different, whether it's like big tech is after, they just want more money, right? So if they can control you, then, they can control how you spend your money, and really what Facebook and Twitter and all these other, tech companies, they want to break into the Chinese market, right? So they want to push their products overseas to, 1 billion plus people. And if they can crack into that market, then, the sky's the limit with money. But it's all about money. It's really not about anything else. So if big tech can placate, China, you know what I mean? And then try to break a deal to get over there and start making that money, then that's what they're going to do. You know what I mean? But the end state is not control like everybody thinks it is. It's money. They just want more money, so that's big tech. And then you've got individuals like Biden and Pelosi and all these, Harris and all these clowns. Really, they're lowbrow, unintelligent people who just managed to squeeze themselves into a specific place where they can lie, cheat, and steal to get money, right? That's it. Biden, his whole career has been about lining his pockets. If you talk to the man, he's not a smart man. His accomplishments are nothing, right? Except lining his pockets. So that's what it's about for him. He just squeezed himself into a position that, he can line his pockets. And the same with Pelosi. She's a bumbling idiot, but she just happened to come from the right family and have the right opportunities to get these spots, right? To squeeze money, and that's it. It's really all about money.
So money just changes hands for services, right? So I work, I make money, right? And then I need to buy shit. Well, that same money that I give to the vendor to buy shit, they turn around and pay their vendors, and then that floated around. So that money never disappears. It just changes hands for services. So it never goes away. And what happens is when you have somebody like, a billionaire or whatever, they're sitting on it, so that they take that money out of circulation. So if it was a pie, right, they're eating up more of the pie and it's not floating around. So at some point in time, right, all the hungry hippo marbles have been swallowed by the hippo. And the only way to get more marbles is to gut the hippo and take it out of it. And that's what's going on in the world right now. There's no free money floating around. It's gotten to the point where it's being held hostage, and the only way to get it is to literally steal it from somebody, like a pirate.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I will call you back. I've been busy.
It's cool. I love you too.
Okay.
Bye. And if you still believe that our liberties haven't been stolen, and you believe the media's interpretation of events, then you have the most to lose. These upcoming months are going to strip your ignorance and the false constructions that you have been hiding behind to avoid the truth. So good luck with that. And for the rest of you who are tracking that the government is corrupt as fuck, we're going to discuss how to avoid falling into the traps and pitfalls that celebrity puppets are seducing us, along with why you should avoid the media's brainwashing. And then later, I will teach you how to protect yourself from any predators in your life. Now, I am so grateful to you all, and I show my love the only way that I know how, and that is by sharing my experiences in order to give you the insight and skills you need to protect yourself from predators. And that being said, you need to understand that I have psychopathy, and sometimes some things might be difficult for you to hear, but I don't think or feel the same way that you do. And I only have my perspective to come from, of which I will show you the reality of psychopathy and what it is and what it looks like through example and my own first-hand experience. So in watching my videos, not only are you learning how to protect and empower yourself, you can give yourself a pat on the back because you're also practicing tolerance. Now, by suspending judgment and being open-minded to my particular condition, by listening to my opinions or watching my behaviors, even though you might not necessarily agree, you are showing great wisdom and practicing tolerance. Now, I am focused on Meghan, and I find her actions to be textbook, prime examples of the condition of psychopathy. And I find psychopathy very interesting, and the people who have it as well, I love to study them and their modus of operandi. And then I share their secret, because these people make my life hard, and I want to return the favor. Now, in the current political climate, we can see which side Meghan has joined alliances with, and that she is being groomed by Oprah. However, the people have spoken, and they have rejected Meghan on ethical and moral principle and standards. Now, my prediction is just for fun, but that doesn't mean we can't wish for it to happen. So how interesting will this be, right? Let's imagine this together. Now, my prediction is that Harry's developmental disability, the one that we've discussed in previous videos, basically Harry's mental retardation, will become publicly acknowledged, therefore confirming a basically open secret. This will absolutely ruin and decimate everything that she's worked for and has deviously and cunningly stolen. Now the public, they will ostracize and shun her, therefore forcing her into obscurity, where, stuck alone with Harry, her developmentally disabled husband will have to provide for his every need. Now, I noticed that Archie, who, by the way, has an English accent, meaning Archie spends a majority of his time around Harry, which is great because Meghan will need it, as she's going to live as an example of gender role reversal, as she and her mama are going to be hustling to come up with money to cover that McMansion she has in Montecito. In the fallout, celebrities, in a bid to gain any crumbs of publicity for themselves, will sell their stories about what a piece of shit Meghan is. And Jessica Maroney will ghost write a tell-all about her friendship with Meghan. And Meghan will sue Jennifer. But Jennifer has money, and her family has money. So she'll be able to wait Meghan out in court, causing Meghan to run through money that she's managed to hold on to. Oprah will drop Meghan, because that's what she does. Oprah immediately distances herself from anyone who's disgraced themselves. And then what's going to happen to her podcast? So I read the lineup, right? And that lineup, I believe, was all the friends that she has, or those who could be forced into doing it. But who else is she going to bring to her podcast? Because I think that she's banking on the weight of their star power to bring to the table and entice other celebrities to be guests on her podcast. But here's the thing. They ran her out of Hollywood. Why would they want to be a guest on her show? You know, I think that Kim Kardashian's diss was pretty clear about how Hollywood feels about Meghan Markle. So basically, their podcast is going to feature nobodies that nobody is interested in. And the royal family has completely shut them out. And I don't know if Harry will have a home to go back to when the Queen dies. As it stands, Meghan basically has stolen property in her possession, a national treasure of England, and now is taking it on a circus road show, exploiting this treasure for money. And Harry has become a circus freak. But Harry has a child's emotional and mental intelligence. That's why he believes and subscribes to Meghan's feeble-minded blatherings I mean, I have never seen anyone as hokey as Meghan. She's very mawkish and just overly sentimental. You know, just really over-emotional and this sickly sweet personality. And she comes across as super fake, even creepy, even if she's being honest or genuine in that moment. And now she's lost all credibility. Everything Meghan says is ignorant or meaningless, and it serves no other purpose than to forward her personal agenda of securing fame and accumulating wealth. And Harry, he's weak in his mental boundaries, so he's easily led astray. But I don't think Harry is aware of how he has been unwittingly implicated and complicit in his downfall. Any rational man would not do what he has done or be able to be as easily manipulated in this capacity. And I think it is because of his retardation that Harry has an ability to hide or avoid reality and or complications that he causes. So imagine Harry, who has a mental retardation, coming up against Meghan, a beautiful and well-seasoned sexual deviant psychopathic con artist. So this girl flattered Harry and lied to him, making him think that he was more than he was, and telling him everything that he wanted to hear, making him feel normal for once and able to finally compete at William's level. And it's the sex that's keeping him. Someone simple-minded can easily fall into addiction. Think of a toddler when they first get sugar. It's immediate and addicting, and they can't control it. Now Harry will have to find it within himself to face his ego and humiliation. Harry has to face his self-worth issues that are a result of his retardation. He has always felt inferior, and the complications are coming from Harry recognizing that if he were smarter, he wouldn't have made this mistake. And now he's humiliated because everyone around him was trying to tell him the truth about Meghan, and Harry failed to heed. Furthermore, Harry's a Virgo, so he's probably replaying and analyzing every detail of their gestures, movements, and facial responses to his stupidity. Moreover, Harry is very empathetic, so he's tapping into what they were actually feeling as opposed to allowed himself to believe. What's embarrassing Harry now and preventing him from kicking Meghan to the curb is that he knows that he's being pitied, and Harry doesn't want pity. That's the worst thing for him, but he isn't yet prepared to make the best of it either. So let's not give up on Harry yet. Harry comes from kings, and he comes from strong queens. In his blood and DNA, he has it in him to defeat this dragon, which is Meghan. Harry's ego is manifested as Meghan, and we've witnessed Harry shut Meghan down on the balcony. So he knows how to shut things down, or at least put his foot down when he needs to. However, it's up to Harry to activate it. And the first step Harry needs to take is being truthful with himself about why Meghan is with him. And from there, Harry will need to step out in faith. And this means trusting the flow of information that he receives and the processes that are guiding him towards breaking through to his higher good and expression of himself. Right now, I see Harry is stuck and using Archie to avoid confronting his situation and the hand he has played in it. And I think that he's also holed up with Archie as a way to stay out of Meghan's way. He probably annoys the fuck out of her, and she's always snapping on him. I think she's mean to Harry. So let's talk about why I don't think or feel that Meghan is aggressive. Being mean and doing acts of cruelty, it's aggressive, but it's not aggression. There's being mean and doing acts of cruelty. It's aggressive, but it's not aggression. It's a form of aggression. in the way that having a headache is a form of stress. The actual headache isn't stress. It is simply a process of mixed signals between the chemical activities in your brain and the nerves or the blood vessels surrounding your skull. You can also make a headache go away, but stress is unrelenting, and aggressive people are unrelenting in their aggressiveness. It's always just under the skin, and Meghan doesn't have that aggression. I can tell because she's weak and she fucking cries all the time. And Meghan is just a fucking bitch. And she's also a runner. You know, the second she's confronted or someone tells her contrary to what she wants to hear, the situation will immediately go from bad to worse. And as soon as she gets everything she needs out of that person, she flees. And that's Meghan's cycle. That's her cycle of life. Life is about service. And Meghan, on the other hand, is confused and genuinely feels that people are in service to her, and she serves them by allowing it. And Meghan's motivation is misplaced, and her issue is that she came to overcome in this life is her ego. Meghan is experiencing her karma right now, that her moon sign has set up for her. And if Meghan could have gotten a hold of her ego, which she is recognizing now as an issue, because she's humbled herself enough to reach out to the Queen and beg to keep her titles, but not to the extent that she's ready to admit any wrongdoing. Meghan completely views herself in a false light, and that's fine, but in her case, she's hurting others by misleading them. So Meghan isn't what she thinks she is, and that's the common denominator between Harry and Meghan, their ability to live in a false reality. And Harry provides the backdrop, and Meghan provides the fantasy. But they can't keep up this illusion because, like Meghan is finding out, imagination doesn't play quite in reality the way she expected. The problem is that Meghan is a Leo sun, and she can't see beyond the brilliance of her own self. And she thinks that we're all blinded by her light as she is. We don't even need to wear shades, Meghan. Now, Meghan feels that we're all here to serve her, and this means that what Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So Meghan's problem is that she's not recognizing that she's in conflict with her karma, and even if she does recognize the error of her ways, she still believes that it's better for her to have the thing or be the one to do the thing, because she can do more with it than you can, and because she's prettier than you, and she's smarter than you, and she's an actress, and she's famous, and people like her, and they don't like you. And so since you don't have these things, it is better for me to have them, so give them to me. And that is how she manipulates. She makes people feel like shit internally. But do you notice that she reaches for low-hanging fruit? Meaning that Meghan only hunts for the weak and the lame. She can't hunt in the open wild on her own because she's not aggressive. People who are aggressive openly hunt, and that's how it works. Passive aggressiveness is a weak person's game. Now, Harry has the power. He is the real royal and has the ability to remove Meghan from his life. Okay, so let's talk about why Meghan Markle isn't succeeding. Now, you cheat because there's no other way to gain what you have. And so spiritually, that means that you weren't supposed to have it. And so it will always be a struggle to maintain and keep it. And that will be quite a battle because the force to hold on to an ill-begotten gain is equal to its resistance to stay. So think about that. When you are considering these celebrities and what they are pushing on you and hawking, they are desperate and they will do anything to keep what they have. And in this political climate, they have to now. That's the beast that they're feeding. They're keeping us ignorant and suppressed to feed off of us, basically. You know, you've become so habituated to soaking up energies that don't belong to you, that you don't recognize the dangers that you're in, or how many illnesses that you've experienced, which are directly related to your consumption of these elitist agendas. And this is the result of the emotional manipulation that the media is causing, precisely to keep you in this highly agitated state and therefore easy to control. The deck has been stacked against us, and it's not fair. So if things aren't working out for you in your life and you are taking all the right actions and things still just aren't working out for you, it's because you're not playing the game right. You're being played. So Meghan is a perpetrator in this game whose agenda is tied into a larger one. So her party is king, and she is desperately trying to get into the kingdom. And on paper, she should be successful. But Meghan's inability to succeed, despite Oprah's backing and far reach, is a testament to the power of the people, and that the power is really tied to the will of the people. And Hollywood is dead. I was just there. It's full of vagrants and sidewalk con artists. And social media has made it so we don't have a need for Hollywood. It was once the base for stars and where they shot movies. And now movies are shot out of the country, like in Canada or out of state in Georgia. Anywhere that is cheaper than LA. And anyone can upload directly to a web host, and become an overnight sensation, which, if they have that it factor, they can parlay it into a nice career. And this is true for all celebrities and stars, except even now they are losing their appeal and being revealed for the self-absorbed Satanists that they are. Now the it factor, combined with a unique selling point, can make a person very wealthy. And that's why Meghan failed, because she doesn't have that it factor, and she lost her unique selling point when she split from the royal family. Now, they were the power base behind her appeal, and that's why she's adjusted fire, and she's trying to find that unique selling point that will take off. And she's got one last card to play, and she's playing it now with Archie and Archwell. Now, in our world, a selling point and market value are the root of all evil, and money is just their measure. So the more corrupt the person is directly correlated to their wealth. A celebrity is only as powerful as their star power, and star power is based on appeal. And nobody is worth millions or billions of dollars. No one is that interesting. And this unfounded wealth creates an imbalance where when we get beyond what we deserve, we start having to make up for the deficit of where we fail to deliver. And the ego of the elitists needs to believe that their selling point is unique and even divine in order to justify their overinflated and undeserved market value. Therefore, when a weak personality is faced with a moral choice that they are too emotionally and spiritually immature to handle, it becomes inevitable that they will fail. And in their fall, the fall is our separation from our higher selves. The personality becomes lost in the wilderness of their own lower and base instincts, which is located in the first chakra and represents survival. And this chakra, when it's imbalanced, it's why we experience corruption, as it governs financial and physical security. Now, when imbalanced, greed becomes out of control, and survival is at all cost and at the expense of others. Wealth is as unnatural as fame is sustainable, and life is built upon cycles, and everything has its ebb and flow. So when we try to take more than our share, it immediately creates imbalance and lack for another. So how do you protect yourself? The first thing you can do is you can stop believing these celebrities and their carefully crafted images. Stop buying their products. You know, celebrities, they sell an illusion to trick us into believing what they show us is an attainable reality. And people wish a celebrity's reality was theirs, and so they use this desire to take advantage of you. Celebrities prey on our ego's need to be superior to others and more than we are. And this coveting of celebrities' unique selling points pushes us to buy the products that we think they use or covet lives they seem to be lucky and happy to be living. So when we attain what they have, we feel one step closer to our idols and to attaining a life like theirs. However, the elitist trick is to stay ahead of the crowd, which precipitates a need for deception. So they create more junk, and then they make us think that we are missing out if we don't have that product. And the truth is that advertising is a manipulation, and it's meant to impress upon us the feeling that we can create connections and have interactions with celebrities when we buy these things that they endorse. And the truth is that the motivation behind the endorsement is not to better your life, but for their own personal advantage. So where does that leave us? Broken and happy. It's not okay to sacrifice your own happiness for the selfish happiness of others. So the key to breaking the cycle is in recognizing the value and worth in your unique gifts and talents that have combined to create you. Trust in yourself that you don't need their witchcraft to make your life better or to be inherently worthy, and you don't need anyone else's approval either. So let's use our community to celebrate each other, lending support to each other, and finding what's great inside of ourselves. Because I don't want to be the only star in the sky, and I want us to shine so bright that we are quite the sight to behold. And I want you to shine so gloriously, my friends. Be that light that leads others out of the darkness. So shine, my glorious friends. Now, I'm going to use one of my loose analogies to explain life and psychopathy. Now, when you get on the bumper car ride, you don't expect people not to hit you. You may get pissed, but you don't take it personally. Not even when the asshole in the red bumper car aims straight at you. You might not like it, but you know it's not you he's targeting. But he's aiming at you because there's an open space that makes your car vulnerable. And so you don't take it personally because you know that this motherfucker got on the ride to bump people. Now, when you see him coming, you might feel a little nervous as your fight or flight kicks in, forcing you to take action and quickly decide which of the two choices to make. Now, you're either going to look for an opening and immediately get out of the way of the red car, or, with no other options, you brace for impact, right? It's annoying, but it's all in fun and games. Well, the psychopath sees a third option. An antisocial psychopath will ram his car into the red car, while the pro-social psychopath will just get out of the car altogether. But sometimes, people in bumper cars sustain traumatic hits from family and friends and people that you came to the festival with, or just strangers on the ride. And these huge hits can cause bodily damage, even leaving mental and emotional scars that are exasperated by life further along the line. Now, just like these bumper cars in your life, you will be damaged, and you will have damaged others. It's inevitable, and it's one of our purposes on Earth, is to learn to overcome and adapt to these damages that's been inflicted. If you can understand how to subdue someone with a predatory nature, then you can easily control your environment with neurotypicals. Now, even if this person is a neurotypical, you need to always keep in the back of your mind that this person is of flesh and blood and will betray you whether intentional or not. It doesn't matter how big or how small. In some way, this person will breach your boundaries in a big way and betray you. Now, if you let people cross your boundaries, they're going to fuck you. They can't help it. They simply see you as a place to land, much like a fly attracted to shit. So it doesn't make you a good person for allowing others to cross your boundaries. It makes you an easy mark. And the universe rewards an evil person the same way they do a saintly one. Now think back. If you were ever in a situation where you were abused or taken advantage of. In some way, you were powerless against a greater force than yourself, and you couldn't stop them from hurting you. What do you think that you would want to do differently? It's fight back. Because in fighting back, it's where we learn to recognize our true worth and see that it far exceeds the limits of this situation that we found ourselves in. And then once we have that recognition, our vibration increases and it calls to it others of that same energy signature, the good and the bad. Now, the only thing that makes a predator recognize the error of their ways is another predator. So it's good to be the bigger predator. Now, many neurotypical relationships exist in which one of the partners is controlling. You can recognize these people by their unfair, selfish, and egotistical ways. Usually, these controllers are great at reverse psychology, convincing their partner that they are the problem and everything is really their fault. And in denying and deflecting and making counter accusations. Now, if you keep on being the nice guy, well, people are going to keep throwing you under the bus. So the smart thing to do is to watch out for yourself and learn to understand your enemy. And also, you need to learn how to manipulate people. But to be honest, there's a fine line between manipulation and being evil. And when someone is keeping you from achieving something that you want, well, manipulation just comes in very handy. So you have to turn the situation around and beat these people at their own game. You have to learn to disarm that person first. And this is through mental manipulation. This advice, it's not for every situation that you're in. It's only for those people who are evil or they're bad, okay? And they're hurting you. It's only for these people. But first, you have to stop thinking of yourself as a victim and recognize that female empowerment is using your sex. It's being empowered the way a man and owning the truth of who you are. A woman was made to breed, and her body was made to have babies. And just like in the wild, animals have tricks to attract and entice a sexual mate, and pleasure is a large part of that. And sex is how women manipulate. It's how we get men to do our bidding and to bend to our wills. See, men have strength to hunt and to build shelters. But what is important that men have, which can easily subdue a woman, is might. Might is what apex predators possess, such as lions. Lions have might, and might is the ability to easily express power from their strength. We used to take our kids to the San Diego Zoo all the time. We would always visit the lions, our favorite animal. And one time, we were standing around where they had the lions situated. They were kept in an open enclosure where they couldn't jump up and out of. Now, there are probably 60 to 100 people easily jammed up against these rails, and we were staring at this magnificent lion resting easily in the sun, not even minding the crowd. He never once opened his eyes, and he only gave us his side profile, but we could see all of him in the round. California and I had the kids right up against the rail, perfect viewpoint, and we were just watching the lion. So this guy starts heckling the lion, just making the most obnoxious sounds. And this went on for what seemed like forever, but in reality it was probably 5 minutes. It was a long time for somebody to be standing there just making obnoxious sounds, you know, just really goading the lion. And through all of this, the lion never once moved. He didn't shake his head nor flinch, nothing. And he didn't even open his mouth. But he admitted this snarl. And the sound was so menacing and disturbing that it affected you, and it was petrifying to hear. And one by one, people immediately started to leave. Now, men have might is a force that makes a man's presence intimidating. and even menacing. Now, depending on that level of might, subjugate a person without them even having to physically touch anyone, just like the lion. Now, women's sexuality is meant to dominate and subdue this might. You either are the prey or the predator in this world. You have to dehumanize a predator to be able to conquer them. So it's really outwitting them by using their weaknesses against them. You have to disarm the psychopathic person first through mental manipulation. You have to find and use their greatest weakness against them. So you have to turn the situation around and beat them at their own game. And when you turn the situation around, what happens is it shuts down that predator aspect of their brain. And then they start thinking and feeling like a person as they switch from that predator brain to their normal brain. And when this happens, they start reacting instead of thinking. And that's when you go in for the kill. And the kill means basically closing the deal and getting what you want out of this person by using their weakness against them. I want you to practice learning to observe and understand the real meaning of people's words. What are they really saying? And watch their body language. And then I want you to take all this information and I want you to create a profile of this person and put all this information around them. And from this profile, their weaknesses should become apparent. And based on this information, you create a strategy. Narrow your attacks on that specific weakness. Essentially, you need to speak the language that your predator understands. So one time I was at the mall and I was buying makeup. And I had my son with me. He was about 6 at the time. And I was holding his hand. I was in mid-conversation and I was so close to the counter that my body was nearly touching the glass. So this female came barging in front of my son and I, literally shoving us backwards. And I had to grab him so he didn't fall. And while I was doing this, girlfriend was standing on my foot. So I'm pegged to the floor in one spot and I'm at this awkward angle. And I asked her like 4 times to get off my foot. And she ignored me like I was invisible. So I grabbed her with my free hand and I slammed her into the ground. And you know what she said? "Oh, I'm sorry." You have to speak the language that people understand. I have in the past mentioned that I've been raped, but I don't consider myself a victim. I don't like it. I don't like it in a way that I might suffer a stomach bug. It's someone breaching your boundary, but it's how you respond that defines you. Now, my femme fatale came out very early, even before my spiritual awakening at 7. I had been being sexually assaulted from a very young age. And one day, I learned how to take my power back, but I wouldn't understand how to use it till later. So I was 5 years old when this man, my grandmother and I had met at church, befriended us and became very friendly with us. And, we thought he was a really good, righteous person. Now, my grandmother was a widow and she liked the attention. And I thought that he was really nice and that he loved me. So he told my grandmother that he would take me out to get ice cream. And so instead of going to get ice cream, we would pull off and park under a group of trees, kind of off the freeway. And he would do whatever he wanted to me. And I remember that I really loved him. And I didn't even know it was wrong at the time. And I knew that it hurt sometimes, but that was about it. Now, I think because I had seen the adults around me have sex, it might have seemed right or okay. But I remember him being so disgusted with me because I wasn't crying and I trusted him. And he was pissed. He was upset that I wasn't screaming and I wasn't crying. And instead had a completely different reaction than he was anticipating. Because rape isn't supposed to make you happy. It's supposed to be degrading, and it's supposed to subjugate the person. So he took me home, and I never saw him again. But what this taught me was that when you take away their power, you take away their control. And that's what you do when you are honest with yourself and how you are affecting your situation in a negative way. Once you recognize your part, then you can see how and where you are being controlled. My part in my rapes was that I was seeing myself as a victim instead of seeing myself as an adversary. So once I changed my perspective, I realized that by holding on to these childish ideas of virtue and goodness, and by placing these sanctities upon my body, it wasn't going to make it incorruptible any more than being raped made me corrupted. Now, whether you subscribe to my body as a temple or my body as the vehicle that gets me through life, neither will preserve any of your perfection upon death. Only your soul does. The soul has been on a journey long before it integrated into this body, that I've experienced the things that my soul needed to learn to overcome its weaknesses. My soul is very sensitive, and I needed to learn to get tough, and I needed to learn how to stick up for myself and defend myself. And my life provided the narrative I needed to overcome my self-doubt and take a leadership role in life. But you have to know and learn how to fight back. If you continue to be the good person or the nice one, people will continue to take advantage of you, and they will keep throwing you under the bus. So it would seem to your benefit by looking out for yourself and learning about the art of manipulation. Manipulation is not a skill everyone prevails in or succeeds at, which is why it is called an art. It's not for every situation that you're in. It's only for those people who are evil or they're bad, okay? And they're hurting you. It's only for these people. It's never good to manipulate in relationships where trust is important. Now, exploiting people is a slippery slope because it works very well, and you can find yourself doing this in situations that you actually didn't intend to. Now, in this lifetime, I was really abused and basically orphaned by my parents. And I was told from the age of 4 that I was a nigger and that my role was to serve other people. Now, I later confronted one of my abusers, and they told me that they had acted in this manner because they believed that since I was half black, that I needed to get used to this treatment. My mother didn't want me, and so she wanted to put me up for adoption. And one day I remember her throwing the phone book at me and asking me, what color parents did I want? And I remember at the time I didn't read very well, and I felt so helpless because I couldn't help myself to fix the situation. And so she lied, and she didn't place me up for adoption, but she did allow other people to beat me up, her friends and strangers. And I was constantly tortured and humiliated, and I suffered extensive mental abuse as well. Let's put it this way. I couldn't even use the restroom in peace without my stepdad banging on the outside of the door and telling me how hated I was and how he and everybody else wanted me dead. So I ended up using a cup in my room to urinate and defecate in for years. I also drank 1 large bottle of Pepto-Bismol a day, which I stole, and I developed a nervous tic in my head. I was very OCD at this point, and trying to fit into a white world that didn't want me, being the only black person in my life. Naturally, I hated myself, and it didn't matter what I did. Nobody wanted me, and nobody loved me. I didn't live a normal life. You know, I was gaslit and I was stonewalled daily. And even at my worst, you would never know that I was suffering and struggling, which it wasn't good because I didn't reach out for help. I never told anyone. But people knew because someone called child services because one day they saw my face and my stepdad had left his entire handprint on it. And I remember I couldn't stop crying because that one hurt really bad. I was 9, and I had never been hit that bad before. And my mother came in to hit me again since I couldn't stop crying. And I remember she grabbed me, and I was on my back, and she had my arms spread open so she could hit me in the face. And when she saw it, she just dropped me and left me there because she was pissed that he left a mark on my face, and she didn't want to get into trouble. Point is that I believed that I deserved my punishment and the terrible treatment, but I didn't exactly know why, and I didn't recognize that it was racism. These events stemmed from racism because I'm not racist. So I took it like it was me. There was something personally wrong with me, my personality and who I was. I never wanted to be like the monsters that I grew up with, so I suppressed those traits and qualities and control the winds of my ego with the maturity of my growing willpower. Although the people around me were flat out racist, cocaine-fueled, crazy, and mean psychopathic drunks, I never once lowered myself to their level, nor am I doing any behavior that would diminish my shine. Once I figured out patterns and how to control and change my narrative, I was able to manifest an alternate reality to the one that I had been fated. I feel fate is what we get if we put in the minimum to zero effort, and destiny is what you can achieve. Now, I'm not really fond of the word destiny. California had a girlfriend when I met him, and her name was Destiny. The thing is that Destiny and I got along great. I really liked her. She's smart, but yeah, it doesn't matter. The point is that I realized that I had to take control of the wheel and drive, and I'm a good driver. So when I tell you to go out and be the badasses that you are, I mean it. So I want you to start by being gangster with people in your life. You have to be an asshole. Not only that, I expect it, Vixens, to protect and honor yourself, to get absolutely medieval on someone if they cross your boundaries. Rabies is a Maltese, a little dog, and you know when your little dog barks at someone on the sidewalk from your couch. And so I tell him that he's so brave. He's so brave, Rabes. You're just so brave, right? And so he'll run to the door and he'll bark even more, even though nobody's there any longer. And he'll look at me and he'll just keep barking and he won't stop until I snap and tell him to shut the fuck up, right? So I want you to go in on people like Rabies and enjoy it. Feel good and don't quit until someone makes you stop. So now that you're aware of how to protect yourself, you need to learn to be painfully honest with yourself, which automatically makes you become aware of your weaknesses and strengths for that particular issue. When you own your role in any drama, you take back your power because you're no longer participating. Now, the more honest you are with yourself, the more you are naturally be steered towards the people and the places and the opportunities that will afford your soul with the most growth and make the impacts that it needs to get unstuck from its issues. And just like in the bumper cars, sometimes a hit is just what you need to get out of the situation that you were in. And I just don't feel like a victim because I truly believe that life and the experiences that we have are just simply control dramas that we're working out with one another that have played over and over and over again, as our character might have changed and our role might have changed, but the drama is always the same. And so once you own your role in the drama, you take back your power and you're no longer participating. It was only until I was able to get brutally honest with myself that I was really able to change my narrative. I was 15 years old and I was sitting on my bed writing in my diary about a boy I had a mad crush on and I was convinced that I was in love with. I don't remember his name, but what I remember is that I was writing lies in a diary filled with lies. I was sure at any day he was going to kiss me, that things were going well between us and we were really happy. So I was making the relationship out to be more than it was. And then I stopped and I said out loud that that's not true. That's a lie. And this guy, he's not interested in you. And he doesn't appreciate your weird attempts to have some sort of sexual relationship. And at this point, you're just a stalker. And that's what you do when you're honest with yourself and how you are affecting the situation in a negative way. Now, once you recognize your part, then you can see how and where you are being controlled. And this honesty will naturally give you the ability to overcome any shyness or resistance, and it imbues you with the power to call someone else out on their shit. And to protect yourself, you have to be honest with yourself. And that means owning your strengths as well as your weaknesses. Because to call them out in another, you have to recognize them within yourself. So I want you to start by being gangster with people in your life. You have to be an asshole. Not only that, I expect it, Vixens, to protect and honor yourself, to get absolutely medieval on someone if they cross your boundaries. Rabies is a Maltese, a little dog, and you know when your little dog barks at someone on the sidewalk from your couch. And so I tell him that he's so brave. He's so brave, Rabes. You're just so brave, right? And so he'll run to the door and he'll bark even more, even though nobody's there any longer. And he'll look at me and he'll just keep barking and he won't stop until I snap and tell him to shut the fuck up, right? So I want you to go in on people like Rabies and enjoy it. Feel good and don't quit until someone makes you stop. Now, I'm absolutely ruthless with people in my personal life because people in general are weak because they haven't been challenged. So they're going to come from a position that's most advantageous for themselves and does absolutely nothing for you. So that's why I'm saying you have to learn how to protect yourself and take care of yourself. Because if you don't, you're going to get rolled over in this life. You think that you're living, but you're not living. You're just surviving on the crumbs that these psychopaths are leaving you. The 1% who own most of the earth's wealth and control our perception of reality. Now, these crumb trails that we have been following for decades have led us into traps, and you are trapped, and life is getting harder for you. We're being controlled, and this isn't for our benefit. So with what you can control, you need to develop a predatory mindset and develop predatory skills. Our middle class is being wiped out and made poor, and soon there will be more competition amongst the 99%, which you and I are in. So remember that saintly behavior does not win you prizes on earth, and the only time that you should be sacrificing yourself as if it serves your karma, serving as a sacrifice to the greed of others, is not the same. And what I'm saying is not simply about getting yours. That's the antisocial way of thinking. What I'm saying is protecting yours, because the universe will provide for you. If something is meant to be yours, it will get to you by its own way. Everything has a destiny, and some things are bound to meet up. And this is where I agree with Meghan Markle. It's about thriving. I do believe that we weren't meant to just survive, but we were meant to thrive. Hear me out. We water our houseplants so they will survive, but we give them nutrients so they will thrive. Why? Because we want our plants to look as big and glorious and healthy as possible, as they can possibly look and be. We don't want a sickly looking houseplant. That makes us feel like shit. When our plants look fantastic, we can take credit for that. Like, fuck yeah, I have a green thumb and I can do this. The plant feels good, you feel great as well, and that's what thriving really is. It doesn't mean living in a mansion and having servants at your beck and call to abuse and exploit their position. It means that you're living a life that makes you feel really terrific inside just from experiencing the wonderful and special things that you can do. It's all about the spiritual gain that bring positive emotional payoffs. The trick is that if everyone took responsibility for their own levels of consciousness and accepted what was and what wasn't available to them, we would all stay in our lane and avoid those people and things not intended for us. We could also learn to help each other in a positive way without the unrealistic expectations that define our current relationships, especially if we choose to consciously get involved romantically and in business. With this awareness, we wouldn't be attacking one another, as you wouldn't expect anything other than what the other person is capable of. You don't expect a person without hands to climb ropes. So the key to life is perspective. As always, Vixens, may you always be smart, clever and quick like the vixen, and strong, bold, and courageous like the lioness.